Tes, Bapak Ibu di Jakarta, apakah bisa mendengar suara saya?
Bisa mendengar, Pak.
Selamat pagi, Bu Made.
Selamat siang dari Jakarta, selamat pagi di Oslo.
Bapak Ibu di Jakarta, apakah bisa? Pak Riki.
Siap hadir, Pak.
Sebentar lagi kita akan mulai, masih menunggu Pak Riki. Siap hadir, Pak.
Bentar, Pak. Tes 1, 2, 3. Nggak ada yang balas. Nggak ada yang jawab. Sehat.
Oke, feedback sudah tidak ada. Boleh cek sound lagi, Pak Riki.
Cek 1, 2, 3.
Volumenya berapa?
Siap.
Sudah keluar?
Siap. Sudah mulai.
Oke, makasih.
Ya, kita akan mulai dalam waktu 1 menit.
Waduh, Bos, apa kabar?
Baik, apa kabar Pak Eki?
Baik, Alhamdulillah. Makasih udah undang kami.
Sama-sama. Ibu Made, apa kabar? How are you?
Very well, Pak. Good morning.
Banyak teman-temannya Bu Made di sini.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody.
Okay, want to start.
Baik, Bapak Ibu, kita akan mulai. We will start this gathering. Your Excellency Ambassador Todung Lubis, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to the Kingdom of Norway and the Republic of Iceland. Your Excellency Ambassador Erling Rimestad, Director General for Trade Policy of the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Fisheries of the Kingdom of Norway. Distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a warm welcome to all of you to the Indonesia-Norway Hybrid Business Gathering to mark the entry into force of the Indonesia-EFTA States Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which enters into force today, November 1st, 2021. Very exciting day for us. My name is Aldi. I'm the Counselor for Economic Affairs at the Embassy of Indonesia in Oslo, and I will be your moderator for today. On behalf of the Embassy of Indonesia, I would like to thank all of you for joining us today, both those of you present with us here today in Oslo and those joining us virtually from around Norway and Indonesia. Please allow me to briefly explain about the program for today. We will start with welcoming remarks from the Ambassador of Indonesia and then remarks from the Director General for Trade Policy of Norway. We will then continue with presentations from our distinguished panelists. and have a question and answer session after all the speakers have finished their presentations. We plan to finish the first session by 11 o'clock Oslo time or 5 o'clock Western Indonesia time. Just a few housekeeping rules for those joining us virtually. Please keep your microphones muted unless called upon. And we would like you to turn your cameras on if possible, and also save questions until all speakers have finished with their presentations. So without further ado, let us begin by inviting His Excellency Todung Mulya Lubis, Ambassador of Indonesia, to give his welcoming remarks. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Aldi. Director General Erling Rimstad, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a warm welcome to all of you joining us here in Norway. And good afternoon for everyone joining us virtually from Indonesia. I would like to thank you all for joining us today to mark an important milestone in the relations between Indonesia and Norway. I call this a milestone because after 71 years of diplomatic relations between our two countries, the SEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreements, is the first agreement of its kind. The road to the entry into force of the SEPA between Indonesia and EFTA states has been a long one. Starting from the launch of negotiation back in 2010, through 15 rounds of negotiations and various experts meetings over the course of 8 years, the signing at the end of 2018 and the ratification from all the parties of these agreements earlier this year. Now the time has finally come for the implementation. So what is the next step after the entry into force of this historic agreement? After over 1.5 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have all seen how both Indonesia and Norway economies have contracted in 2020. We hope that the SEPA will provide opportunities for Indonesia and Norway to recover stronger together, to increase trade and investment cooperations. Now it is up to the business communities to maximize these agreements to the fullest, and I encourage all business players, both from Indonesia and Norway, to take advantage of this SEPA. Business engagement can start now, and it can be through correspondence, virtual meetings, and face-to-face meetings. It is important to be able to meet in person because virtual meeting is not a substitute of physical meeting. Norway is not yet open for foreign visitors from Indonesia. I really hope that if we were to succeed in implementing SEPA, Norway should open its doors for business people from Indonesia. This is my hope. As a broad-based free trade agreement, the SEPA covers trade in goods, trade in services, and investment, intellectual property rights, procurement, trade and sustainable development, and cooperation. Take, for example, in the area of trade in goods. Norway abolishes all custom duties on imports of industrial products, including fish and other marine products from Indonesia, and Indonesia will gradually eliminate or reduce custom duties on industrial products, including fish and other marine products coming from Norway. The fishery sector is just one of many sectors that shows potential for growth between the two countries. Within this SEPA, you will have thousands of products from Indonesia free from tariff to enter Norway. And on the other hand, thousands of products from Norway will have gradually lowered to zero tariffs for export to Indonesia. Please check the annexes and schedules of commitment between Indonesia and Norway in the SHEPA yourself to see the list of the thousands of products, because there's still much potential and ample room to increase trade between Indonesia and Norway. Distinguished audience, investment is another important agenda for the SHEPA, which aims to improve the legal framework condition for investors from all parties investing in each other countries. Through the SHEPA, non-discriminatory rights of establishments or commercial presence is granted by the host country. I'm confident that with the SHEPA, along with the Omnibus Law and its implementing regulations, the regulatory frameworks for Indonesia will become more clear, stronger, and reliable for foreign investors. Specifically in the field of renewable energy, because I see here this morning our friends from these sectors. I saw our friends from Scattered Solars and Tinfos. I'm pleased to also note that the Minister of Energy of Indonesia has signed a decree on the electricity business supply plan for the period of 2021 up to 2030, which has put a lot of focus on renewable energy. Indonesia has targeted 51% of all new power plants built to be from renewable energy by 2030. It's quite ambitious plan. I'm sure that we will hear more from our distinguished panelists later about this potential for investment. Once again, I thank you for coming and attending our gathering today, and I hope you will all take advantage and reap the benefits of the SHEPA. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Ambassador mentioned, there is still much potential and ample room to improve trade between Indonesia and Norway. So later today, after the first session, we will present to you about the Trade Expo Indonesia Digital Edition. We will guide you and assist you through the process of joining the virtual expo. And we will try to connect with you with businesses in Indonesia. But let us continue the program for the first session by inviting His Excellency Ambassador Erling Grimstad, the Director General for Trade Policy of the Kingdom of Norway, to make his remarks. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Excellency Ambassador Todong Ulalubis, ladies and gentlemen, both in Norway and Indonesia. And it's also nice to see one of our former ambassadors to Indonesia here, Mr. Björn Blokhus. It's a pleasure for me to address you, and I would like to thank the Indonesian Embassy for organizing this event. Today we celebrate the entry into force of the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, CEPA, between Indonesia and the European Free Trade Association, EFTA. The agreement represents a real landmark in the relations between our countries. And we are very satisfied that the agreement is now in force after being signed in Jakarta in December 3 years ago. The agreement will strengthen the economic ties and promote trade and investment between Norway and Indonesia. It is comprehensive and covers areas such as trade in goods and services, investment, intellectual property rights, competition, government procurement, trade and sustainable development, cooperation and capacity building, as well as dispute settlement. Indonesia is an important market for Norwegian companies. Trading goods between our countries has more than doubled over the last decade. Trade in services has also seen a considerable growth, and the total value of trade in goods and services was around 6 billion kroner last year, which is about $700 million. The Norwegian pension fund Global has also invested in more than 80 Indonesian companies listed on the Indonesia Stock Exchange. Many Norwegian companies have business operations in Indonesia in a variety of sectors, such as energy, maritime fertilizers, and paint production. Norwegian seafood exporters are also experiencing increased interest from Indonesian consumers. Many Norwegian tourists are eager to visit Indonesia as soon as the pandemic allows for more international travel. We hope for increased business cooperation now that the SIPA has entered into force. And our embassy in Jakarta stands ready to assist Norwegian and Indonesian companies in business-related matters. Even though we are located far apart, we are bound together by a common friend that knows no borders, the ocean. We are both large coastal nations, and we share the ability to navigate, to live by the sea, of the sea, and for the sea. We share the goal of sustainable ocean management, and we cooperate in combating fisheries crime through the Blue Justice Initiative. As you know, there was a change of government in Norway last month. We now have 2 new ministers in our ministry, Minister Vestre, who is the Minister of Trade and Industry, and Minister Skjæran, who is Minister of Fisheries and Ocean Policy. The new government's political platform has areas such as trade and ocean policies very high on the agenda. I look forward to a continuous close cooperation between our 2 countries and wish you the best of luck on your event today and the upcoming Trade Expo in Indonesia. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Nancy. Ladies and gentlemen, next we will have the pleasure to hear from 3 distinguished speakers. First, we have Ibu Made Martini, Director for Bilateral Negotiations of the Ministry of Trade of Indonesia, followed by Mr. Ove Christian Owe, Specialist Director at the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Fisheries of Norway, who was also the Chief Negotiator of Norway for the SEPA. And third, we will have Mr. Ricky Kusmayadi, Director for Investment Promotion Development at the Ministry of Investment, or previously known as the Indonesia Investment Coordinating Board. Each speaker will be given 15 minutes to present, and I do apologize in advance if I have to be strict on time and need to cut any of your presentations short, because we would like to give our participants and our audience enough time for the opportunity to ask questions they have later on. So without further ado, I would like to invite our first panelist, Ibu Made, the Director for Bilateral Negotiations, to make her presentation. Ibu Made, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pak Adi, as moderator this morning. Good morning, His Excellency Ambassador Todung Mulya Lubis. It's great to see you, Pak, and thank you for having me here this morning. Also, the Director General, Mr. Ramstad. It's nice to see you, albeit on the screen, and everyone that I only see from the screen. Hello, good to be here. It's a pleasure and honor for me to address this very important forum. It actually gives me a goosebump, you know, because today is the official entry into force of our baby that we started way back 10 years ago in 2011, I believe. And then after 7 years of negotiations with pause here and there, finally, as Mr. DG mentioned just now, in December 2018, we signed it in Jakarta. And this is much a welcome and exciting time for us, because truly SEPA is actually a door for us to enter, a lot of opportunity for us to work together. Dear Owe, my counterpart at the negotiations, great to see you. I wish I could be there with you now celebrating together. And also to Pak Ricky, it's good to share a session with you. Okay, today I'm not going to speak long, Pak Adi, don't worry. We've talked and discussed and socialized about the importance of SEPA many times. Here in Indonesia, actually your embassy in Jakarta and my office at the ministry had long series of socialization in many cities in Indonesia. And also the ambassador very actively also had many session and socialization. I remember just before COVID hit, I think January 2020, I was there also speaking regarding the trade negotiations or trade agreement that we have. So it's nice now finally when this agreement officially implemented, we can also continue. All right, I have a short presentation. Please next. Maybe I would start with a little bit why we're doing this, why it is important for Indonesia and EFTA, including Norway in this regard, that we have this agreement. I think over and over, for us, this agreement is the first with European countries. And we would like to see EFTA countries as a window, as a bridge for us to go to, as a hub to go to wider market in Europe. As you know, we are currently negotiating with the EU. As we enter the last part of the last stage of negotiation, things get really tough, which is normal. And it will take time before it's entered into force. So this SEPA with EFTA will be a bridge for us, especially on goods, and trade in goods to enter European market. But of course, apart from goods or trade in goods, we also have a bigger aspiration. This is why I think Pak Ricky will discuss further on that. The strategic importance of investment, as Ambassador Todung just now saying about growing together. I think it's really true. For us, Norway is in terms of population is not big, right? Compared to Indonesia, 270 million people and 5.5 million, congratulations, 5.5 million people. But for us, Norway is our strategic partner, not only strategic in terms of market, but also partner. This is something that we need to work on more, I believe. And apart from goods and service and investment services, this is something that we often not to give attention, especially in Indonesia. But I think the services sector has a lot of potential for us to improve. And another thing is for us is the notion of competitiveness. Indonesia, with our new direction by President Jokowi in 2014, we would like to be more open. We would like to go to the direction where competitiveness is the key, so that our economy in 2045, when we reach 100 years of independence, we can be advanced economy. And this is the idea. And SEPA, or trade agreement, is one of the way to go there. Next, please. So I'm not going to talk about what kind of how many chapters in the next please, how many chapters in the trade agreement, but I think both Ambassador and Mr. DG already mentioned this is very comprehensive. 12 chapters, 17 annexes, and 17 appendix. This is all for us. If we don't use this, if we don't utilize it, it just become a document. So gathering like today, I think it's very important for us, for both private sectors, investors, exporter, importers to be and to understand and to utilize this. So this is good, this is great, it's very comprehensive, it's quite robust. So please welcome it and use it. And this agreement will be there forever. So so I hope in very near future we will see the impact that gives to our economy for both Norway and Indonesia. Next, please. So I talked a bit about the trade. I think Mr. Director General already mentioned just now, but the fact to the matter is that our two-way trade, unfortunately, is declining. But of course, this is due also perhaps to the COVID for the past 2 years. But this is exactly our intention now with this SEPA. We hope these numbers can be corrected. I think this is under potential. There are a lot of potential that we can work on together. Traditionally, these are all the export, like top 5 export product that we export to Norway and vice versa that we import from Norway. But I think with this SEPA, we need to go beyond, not only diversifying the product, but also improving the quality and the quantity, the numbers, and also variety. And this is the whole point Ambassador Todung just now mentioned about the tariff. Tariff is 0 now. There is no problem with tariff. Non-tariff, this is something that we need to comply. And this is for Indonesia. Certainly, we want to be competitive by increasing our standard, our compliance. So not only we can export to Norway or Europe, but also the whole world. Next, please. For the benefit, I think this is no secret. We can read in the agreement. I know it's a bit legal, very legal, because it is a treaty. Legally, the context is legal. But just to say that Indonesia, the tariff lines in terms of elimination of tariff lines in Indonesia, we covered 10,818 tariff lines of Indonesia. Almost 85.5%, 86.5% that we eliminated. So that means Norway now can export more to Indonesia in terms of variety, and vice versa, because I do know that Norway eliminate almost 99%, 98.81%, which is good. This is for ETA, but sorry, for Norway, almost 100%, 99.75%. So again, as I said earlier, this is an opportunity. It's up for the private sector now, our exporter, for example, to use it. But this is the job of the government to facilitate this. We give them, we give them the opportunity to explore. Next, please. This is just an example. I don't want to go technical, but since I know Norway is excellent or world-class fishery industry, and this is one of the area that we are, after long negotiation, we finally agree for a preferential tariff for fisheries product for both sides, food and beverage, and for Indonesia, we also interested in handicraft. Furniture, we are one of the big exporter on furniture, and textiles as well. And for Norway, of course, most of them and 0%. For Indonesia, many of them 0%, but we have a few also reduction in our tariff. But all in all, this is quite ambitious. And if we compare to other agreement that we have in the past, Indonesia EFTA is one of the ambitious one. Next, please. On services, this is, as I said earlier, something that I think we need to work on more in terms of commitment itself under the subsector of services. There are 95 that Indonesia committed. In Norway, there are 91 that we committed, and some of them is, for example, intra-corporate transfer, meaning that this SEPA will make it easier for the two corporation or companies or private sector to exchange their employee, that of course under the commitment. And also we will have an easier market access for graduate trainee, and also contract services, young professional. And this is, I think, good, where President Joko Widodo have a view, to improve our human resources. And certainly Norway, as an advanced economy industrial country, we can take advantage of this. And I know a lot of engineer, for example, from Indonesia, a good one that work all over the world. This is something that we can work on together. And then also for business visitors, talk about expo, talks about promotion. This is something that will get benefit from the agreement. Next, please. Okay, on investment, I will not touch a lot, just to say sky is the limit. I mean, I think this is the area that Norway, Indonesia can work on a lot in mining, in renewable energy. I know some of you are here. I know you already in conversation with the Indonesian partner, but I think the government encouraged you to do so. With the new omnibus law, hopefully doing business in Indonesia is easier and more attractive. We believe that the combination of SEPA, Indonesia's EFTA SEPA with omnibus law will be a powerful tools for you to invest in Indonesia. Next, please. And this is just of the example, but I think I'll leave it to Pak Ricky later on to discuss. And then the last pillar we'd like to say, apart from market access, trade facilitation, is economic cooperation. And for Indonesia, this is why we name it SIPA, because it's a partnership for cooperation to make it, but we are doing this not only to liberalize our economy, but at the same time also develop and building. And economic cooperation is one of them. Ove and I, during our negotiation, we talk a lot about how can we each other learn from the best practices that we have. We take, for example, on fisheries, how fisheries industry in Norway, it's so advanced and can be pillar for your economy. And we, Indonesia, has a huge potential. We are archipelagic country. We have a lot of marine resources. But in terms of marketing, in terms of making it for the best for our economy, I think we can learn from Norway. And this is something under economic cooperation that we talk about. So Ove and I, after this, we still have homework. We will have to materialize it for the benefit of our industry. I think there is some proposal, concrete proposal is already there. This is something that we will work on fisheries, on seaweed, on the standard, especially about safety, laboratory, and so on, marketing, and so on and so forth. And we are looking forward for this cooperation. Next, please. Apart from that, in the economic cooperation, there are also, again, skill is one of the actually emphasis from our government. The president personally, in all our agreement, asked us to work on this. How can we improve the skill and competency? And when it comes to skill, it's not only higher education, but also vocational. I think Norway is very good at that. Europe is very advanced on that. Vocational training. So each and every human resources that into workforce are skillful, are able in their own work or job. And then we have other things in tourism, in food and beverage, maritime transportations, textile, and so on and so forth. This is just a few program that is very good, I think, and I think we need to use it. We need to use it and implement it for the benefit of our economy. Next, I think I almost there. The way forward. Okay, one. SEPA is a key to unlock the potential, and I would like to echo Ambassador Todung Mulya Lubis just now. let's do event like this more, both sides here in Indonesia and also in Norway, so we can have a closer understanding, deeper understanding, so that we can reap the potential. I think it's really true. And I think I can see from 10 years ago and now the situation are different. I think there are more and more awareness in our private sectors towards Norway, and hopefully vice versa. I think we should do a lot of promotion, a lot of socialization regarding this. Yeah. Secondly, exhibition, business event like this also we need it, and socialization. It is true for Indonesia. We are big countries. We have a different level of development. We need to go down to the provinces, so the provincial level also understand the importance of how it is important to welcome the investor, to make sure investment is easy and sound, and so on and so forth. So it's very important. Lastly, of course, the take advantage of any preferential that the SEPA offers to us. Often, sometimes socialization is not never enough. So we work with Norway. We work with Kadin Indonesia, which is Chamber of Commerce in Indonesia. They have a special unit within the chamber that taking care of each and every FTAs. So that way we have somebody counterpart to make sure that this FTA or this SEPA will be utilized to the maximum. So I think I would like to stop there. I reached 15 minutes. I believe I would like to thank the opportunity, but I'm looking forward to receive any question or discuss further with you all. Thank you very much. Tak.
For the comprehensive presentation and for perfect timing, 15 minutes on the dot. So I would expect the same from the next two speakers. So without further ado, Mr. Ove, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, moderator Aldi. You are quite strict, so I'm going to bring my phone. It now says 8 minutes past 10, plus 15, about 10:23, I guess I need to be done by. Dear all, Ambassador Todong, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, both in Oslo and Indonesia, and also the wider interweb. I see that we're broadcasting live to YouTube, so that means that my kids might actually, some doubt it, but they are really, using YouTube. So maybe we can reach out to the younger generation as well, which I would love, because trade is so important, and it's talked about not enough. I think in Norway we kind of take trade for granted. So I'm really happy to be here today to actually talk about trade and talk about the EFTA-Indonesia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. And also today is a day of celebration, and Marvin, it was really good to see you again. You said that you had goosebumps. Yeah, I'm excited. I can't hide that. We worked for many years and very hard. And I think we all, the people that participated in the negotiation, is extremely happy today. And I hope that the business community will be very happy starting today. Or I guess they're already happy, the ones that are dealing with Indonesia, but I would like to see more happiness in the future to come. I was Norway's, well, first of all, my name is Ove Christian Ove. Erling, the DG, is my boss. I work as a trade negotiator in the Ministry of Trade and Industry. For quite a few years, I was in charge from the Norwegian side of the negotiations. Fortunately, I was not there from the beginning, but since 2013 and all the way to the end, I was Norway's chief negotiator. All right, let's start. I've been asked by my good friends in the Indonesian embassy to talk about, mainly focus about Norwegian interests and comment what does SEPA means for Norwegian businesses, and secondly, how Norwegian businesses can take advantage of this agreement. I think the short answer is exactly what's on the screen. It's new opportunities. It's new opportunities for Norwegian manufacturers to export more products to Indonesia. The same goes for the seafood industry. There are new opportunities for the seafood industry as well. There's always new opportunities for Norwegian importers of products from Indonesia to import more, including agri-food products at reduced tariff rates. As also Made commented on in her presentation, there is a huge potential for trade and services and investment. And as always, no, not always, but was also pointed out by Made, there is also a new opportunity to strengthen cooperation between our two countries and also our stakeholders. This sounds very nice, but is it possible to quantify what these opportunities may translate into when it comes to economic value? And let's see if it is. Next slide, please. I won't be very academic, but there's been done quite a lot of research on the effects of trade agreements. SEPA is called an economic partnership agreement. I'm used to using the term FTA, free trade agreements. I might use that for a bit. But of course, so many countries are negotiating these kind of trade agreements, and I believe all governments have actually thought about whether these agreements work or not. And certainly economists and trade specialists, they have done a lot of jobs. And quite recently, there was the Swedish National Board of Trade, which is a government agency under the Swedish government. They did a very thorough report, and their answer was yes, indeed. Free trade agreements, economic partnership agreements, they deliver growth. And they pointed out that after 10 years, on average, you see an increase between 50% and 170%. What I found to be very interesting in that study, and also promising, gives hope and then also promise to Norway and Indonesia with the SEPA in place from today, is that the study pointed out that the more comprehensive, the more substantive the agreement, the bigger the increase in goods trade will be. So with substantive commitments on services, which we have in the SEPA, on investment, which we also have, on intellectual property rights, that will actually contribute to increased trade in goods. So I think the potential is huge. It has also been alluded to in presentations before this one. Investment was also a key issue of our negotiations, and in the SEPA, I would predict that investments from Norway to Indonesia will increase thanks to this agreement. The reason being that an open, transparent, stable, and non-discriminatory and a credible policy environment is important in attracting foreign direct investments. And this is essentially what SEPA is about. It is about ensuring predictability for traders and investors. That's a very key of the work we have done. The agreement addresses and mitigates the regulatory risk associated with investments, and therefore SEPA will facilitate increased investments. On this, I'm convinced. So I think to sum up what the agreement means for Norwegian businesses in terms of investments, I think it means that the SEPA makes Indonesia into a more attractive place to actually invest in. Right, let's move over to the next slide. This was also pointed out by Made, but I think we are in a very good situation, when it comes to expanding our trade and economic relationship. I think this agreement will be a very successful one, and the reasons are twofold. First of all, the starting point is quite good. There is substantive trade going on between Norway and Indonesia. I think 6 billion kroners was mentioned for a total trade of both goods and services. Another positive aspect is that our trade pattern is quite diverse, covering a broad range of sectors and products. And well, Made mentioned that trade has gone down in the last few years. I don't know if our statistic would tell the exact same picture. So I think generally speaking, over the last 10 years, trade has been positive, and it's always good to enter into a trade agreement at a positive trend, because that gives increasing impetus to further increase trade. So last night or overnight, trade barriers have been cut, both in Norway and in Indonesia. And I think we will see the fruits of the reduction of trade barriers materialize quite immediately. And secondly, and most, and probably even more important, and Made also commented on this, I think that the potential to increase trade with Indonesia is very high. Indonesia is a very big market, the economy is growing, and today, trade, or before today, there were trade barriers in place that kind of took out the potential to really expand trade. Many of them has been eliminated and reduced. And I would also claim that I think trade potential with Indonesia, seen for Norway, is actually quite higher than recent trade agreements Norway has concluded, such as the Philippines and other countries, because we have a very strong starting point. I mentioned there are some names of businesses, and I mentioned on the slide that illustrate my point that the Norwegian business interest in Indonesia is quite diverse. Let's move over to the question. I have to check the time. I still have some time. Good. I will now try to answer the question, how can Norwegian businesses take advantage of SEPA? So next slide, please, gentlemen. That wasn't difficult. I'm almost done. I could just say use the agreement and just leave. But that's actually the case, and I think that was also mentioned by the ambassador. It was also mentioned by Made. This is the answer for the business community. You have to use the agreement. What does that mean, though? Because we know that trade agreements work. Our Swedish friends, the researchers, found out they demonstrated that they work. They work tremendously well. It's always easier to come up with examples in the area of trading goods, because trade barriers in the goods area are very concrete. A tariff is here, you reduce it, more trade. In services investments, it's a bit more trickier. For non-tariff barriers, it's also a bit trickier because they were dealing with national laws and regulation and procedure for applying for different kind of licenses, etc. So it's a bit more complex. But for goods exporters, that using the agreement means that you have to ensure that your export product satisfies the rules of origin that's set out in the agreement. If you do that, your product will be eligible for lower tariffs. Thankfully, we because that might sound complex, and for businesses exporting mainly in Europe, they know that rules of origin can be a hassle, because the rules of origin we apply with our closest trading partners in Europe is actually very complex. Quite what trade negotiator would call conservative. That means that they are not very liberal. But what we did with our Indonesian counterparts was to ensure that we have rather flexible rules of origin. We take into account that production does not only take place in one country. There are global value chains, which are crucial to businesses. So we have quite flexible rules of origin, and actually better than the rules of origin we have with EU. We're also trying to streamline the documentary requirements as much as possible. But of course, there are formalities that exporters of goods will need to meet in order to reap benefits of the agreement. I will continue a little bit. I think if we move on to the next slide, talk a little bit about what tariff reduction or what market access situation is for Norwegian products. This is based on an older presentation. So the third column where it says duty free after entry into force, it would have been easier to say duty free from today, because today the agreement entered into force. I think Made has had a very nice slide, a bit more advanced than mine. But overnight, Indonesia eliminated tariffs for I think 80% in value of Norway's export to Indonesia. Tariffs for about 80% were eliminated by the time we woke up this morning. Oil, gas, fertilizers, gas turbines, equipment, etc. So I think this will obviously be a good help for Norwegian businesses when they want to export to Indonesia. And then there are some important products where the tariff will be gradually phased out. But I think the tariff is already lower today, but then next year it will be reduced furthermore, and the next year it will go down even more. And that will happen over 9 to 10 years. A little bit on seafood, if you can go to the next slide. Of course, I wish that I could say that all exports of Norwegian seafood will be duty-free starting today. Of course, that didn't happen, but I think we definitely have a result that will, in the long term, stimulate and help stimulate Norwegian seafood exports to Indonesia. Right now, we have an issue regarding health certificates that is not conducive to our export, but I think once that is resolved, it is resolved. It is. So somebody should have updated me. But I'm really happy you said that, Ambassador. So now we can expect increase in seafood exports again. A few words on services and investments. So next slide, please. 2 minutes? 1 minute. 1 minute. But I could do this really quickly because Made basically did this part of the presentation for me. Services and investments is all about. There are 3 answers to why countries include services and investments in their trade agreements. The first answer is predictability. The second answer is predictability. And the third answer is predictability. That's why we do it. Now the companies know that for sectors where we have commitments, things will not get worse. And that's very, very important. That's key. And that's why I agree with Made when she said that sky's the limit in terms of investments. And I also think sky's the limit also for services. The last slide, I think I will almost make it all day. It's just a bunch of contact points. I think it's important that the business community understands that the agreements just entered into force today. There might be some teething problems regarding implementation. I think Made will be happy. I think I will be happy if we are contacted by businesses. If you see that, hey, here's an issue I thought would be resolved now that the SEPA is in place. Contact the governments and we will see if we can help you. So that is what I wanted to say, more or less. You were strict, but it's fine. So thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Wolven. 10:24. 1 minute. That's okay. So we will give the last speaker the floor. Ricky, you have the floor.
Okay. His Excellency Ambassador of Republic Indonesia, Bapak Todung Mulia Lubis, and then His Excellency Mr. Erling Ramstedt, Director General for Trade and Policy, all panelists, Bu Martini, and then Mr. O, ladies and gentlemen, and all participants, good morning. I'm honored and delighted to be here today to share a short update about Indonesia's latest investment policies and performances. Next, please. Yeah, next. Let me start by discussing about the global economics updates. As we know that this pandemic has a global impact that affecting worldwide economic growth of many countries experience decrease in fourth quarter in 2020, such as Indonesia by minus 2.1%, the United States by minus 2.4%, and also European Union by minus 4.6%. However, in 2021, the economy in many countries have begun to show a positive trend. This can be seen from the economic growth performance in second quarter in each country that has better number than its previous quarter. Total investment, next please, okay. Total investment realization in January until December 2020 reached about 817 trillion rupiah, or equal about 57 billion US dollars, or has reached about 101.1% of the target set from the total target in 2020. The percentage of foreign and domestic investment shown almost comparable trend of 49.9% compared to 50.1%. Since January until December 2020, the achievement of investment realization has managed to absorb Indonesian workforce about 1.1 million people. In the period of 2021, next please. In the next please, yeah. The investment target is 900 trillion and or equivalent to 62 billion. And as we can see from the slides that Norway is the 34th largest country that invests in Indonesia based on investment realization during 2016 until September 2021, with an investment value of around 74 million US dollars. During January until September 2021 alone, Norway managed to achieve about 11.8 million US dollar in investment realization. This amount of investment mainly come from chemical and pharmaceutical industry, other services, mining, hotel and restaurant, and non-machinery and equipment metal products industries. The dominant location that is currently the largest investment destination for Norwegian companies is in Java, with total investment percentage about 66%, followed by Papua, Maluku, and Sumatra. Next, please. Ladies and gentlemen, this one is the investment realization from the Norway, as mentioned before, rank of 34. Next, please. Ministry of Investment (BKPM) plays its main role in facilitating investors, especially by doing one is promotion activity to convince the investor that Indonesia is investment haven, and then assist the licensing service in central level and then regional level, assisting of the financial closing, provide end-to-end services investor in investment realization, and also assisting until the production stage. Next, please. We have mapped several potential sectors which we consider strategic and of high quality. With many local workers were being laid off, we aim to develop and invite more investments in labor-intensive manufacturing and export-oriented manufacturing industry. Also, with the growing demand in the health sector during pandemic, we have found that the need of pharmaceutical and medical devices industry is also growing this industry will be developed not only to boost the economic growth, but also as part of our effort in mitigating and coping up with the current and possible outbreak in the future. Other sectors which have been proven to be growth engine as automotive industry, renewable industry, infrastructure, mining industry, which created added value, electronic industry and food industry will continue to be developed. Next, please. To support sustainable national economic development, the government also focus on downstream industries, which we are aware that the transformation is required to increase value added of natural resources such as nickel. Next, please. Despite facing many challenges, Ministry of Investment, BKPM, continue to be committed to facilitating investment. Ministry of Investment, together with the central and local government, work together to facilitate problems faced by investors in accordance with the direction of President of Republic Indonesia, Joko Widodo. Ministry of Investment has been assigned to be able to execute and install investment which reach total investment of around 708 trillion or equal about 48.8 million US dollars. Next, please. And in order to provide assistance to investor through President Decree number 11, we got the new task force for acceleration of investment chaired by our ministries, Minister of Investment. Becoming to the Vice President is Deputy Attorney General and Deputy Chief of Police Republic Indonesia. The task force was formed to create ease of import and quickly solve business problem and obstacles faced by investors. Next, please. Yeah, as we can see, Indonesia is currently in the 6th place after Vietnam with the classification easy. It is expected that through the implementation of job creation law and regulatory reform that we are doing right now, the overlapping issues in business licensing between central and regional authorities and ministries, institutions that cause this difficult licensing process for investors can be resolved to improve the ease of doing business in Indonesia. Next, please. Ladies and gentlemen, to support more investors to come to Indonesia, the government offers several incentives such as tax holidays and then tax allowance. Next, please. Yeah, and then import duty exemption facility, and also import of machinery and goods and super deduction tax. Most of our investors could be got this kind of incentive, all of these about the tax incentive. Of course, we will facilitate all of the investment that coming to Indonesia. Next, please. Yes, next. Yeah. And also we have the special task force to carry out President Jokowi mandate to seize of the opportunity of company relocation due to the trade war and COVID-19 pandemics. The Ministry of Investment, BKPM, will focus on end-to-end services for investors who want to expand or relocate their businesses into Indonesia. As of now, there have been around 162 companies that express interest in relocating and diversifying their investments in Indonesia. Next. And we are here to get a new kind of industrial park that we call it as Batang Integrated Industrial Park. To attract more investors that coming to Indonesia, the government has developed a Batang Integrated Industrial Estate to be one of the biggest industrial cities in the Central Java, with around 4,300 hectares and designed to become smart and sustainable area. The industrial area is located in the economic corridor of North Java. Batang area is potential as gateway to the national economy and expand international connecting through Tanjung Mas Seaport and Ahmad Yani International Airport Semarang with about 60 kilometers. Batang Integrated Industrial Area also offers competitive land prices and free rental incentive for a certain time. Next, please. And we are talking about the Omnibus Law. President Jokowi officially signed the Omnibus Law number 11 in 2020 on job creation in November 2020. The law contains 15 articles and 186 articles and revised 79 previous law in various fields. The law contains about 10 clusters such as simplification of licensing, improving the investment ecosystem, employment, and improving the investment climate. Job creation law is expected to cut bureaucracy and improve bureaucratic efficiency, thus encouraging the creation of broader employment and supporting collaboration with the micro and small businesses, especially in the midst of pandemics and their recovery in the future. Next, through the job creation law, the government changed its licensing approach from permit-based to risk-based. A risk-based businesses license is the legality granted to businesses to start and conduct their businesses and activities based on the degree of potential injury or loss due to harm or commission of possible hazard and consequential. And then risk determination is based on 4 aspects, namely health, safety, environment, and resources. Next, please. Licensing permit in all sectors is delegated to the Ministry of Investment and will be issued through the OSS system. For tax incentive, we provide tax holiday, tax allowance, and like I mentioned before, an exemption of import duty. And then it's all of this kind of tax already has in the OSS system. And then for the simplification of investment requirement, the government has issued President Regulation number 49/2021, and this change aims to further open opportunities to foreign investors to priority sectors. Next. Yeah, and then the government of Indonesia is also working to provide better businesses-friendly ecosystem by continuously reducing the corporate income tax. The reform result in the reduction from 25% to 22% in 2021 and to 20% in 2022. I think that's all from my presentation, and then also we are very happy to facilitate you to invest to Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Also very perfect clapping. It's 10:38. We have 22 minutes for question and answer. So I would like to first open the floor for people here with us today in the room to ask any questions to either the panelists or maybe the ambassador or the DG. Any takers from the floor? Questions? Yes, we have one from the back. Frederick, please.
Yes. Frederick Abdelmajid from Innovation Norway. I'm just wondering, what should the companies do when they, if they encounter a problem? Because it might be some custom officials that haven't received a new memo yet or haven't read it yet. What are they supposed to do? I don't know. It's an open question to anyone.
Okay. Maybe from Indonesia, would either Ibu Made or Pak Ricky, I'd like to take this question regarding what businesses should do if they encounter any problems.
Okay, let me try. To not to try to answer, but it's I think it depends on what kind of problem that you encounter. Is this a trade issue? Then best usually, because you are in Norway, you contact Pak Adi here or Mr. Ambassador. Usually we have very good communication. They lies with Jakarta, you know, or you can also go through your embassy here in Jakarta. They're very quick and give me a call usually, because I'm the good gatekeeper at in terms of trade, comes to me first, and then I'll distribute if it is an import licensing issue usually, or other issue like what Ove mentioned about the health certificate for fishery, for example. It's just for investment, the same thing. I think Pak Ricky would agree with me, the same thing. And then we try to give the best effort, you know, to solve it, you know, if we can. So that's usually, unless you have specific problem. Thank you.
Yeah, can I add more?
Yes, please.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Bu Made. Yeah, actually, as I mentioned before, our investment ministries has a team that we call it end-to-end facilitation. So from the beginning, from the scratch, from your investment planning until your operational businesses that already start, let's say, starting in Indonesia. So if you have any kind of problem or obstacles that facing like for example in investment, like facing the land problem or obstacles with the regional government, so we have the team to facilitate you, and then we will facilitate you to contact to other ministries, to other the local government, and so on. I think we are ready to facilitate you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Parik. Yes, regarding that question, I'm sure there will be a follow-up question from our friends from the renewable energy sector. One is Mr. Knut Fossum, he would like to ask.
Yes, my name is Mr. Knut Fossum. I have a question following up a little bit about the knowledge on how to get an answer from the authorities in Indonesia. Look to PLN as a sample. How have you implemented the SEPA into the PLN and authorities, local authorities in Indonesia, so that they know how to follow it?
Yes, so if I can give a little background about Mr. Fossum, he's CEO of
I've been doing hydropower in Indonesia. We opened the Insular Basin together with Infos in 2011.
Yes, yeah, you are currently doing another project.
Doing one in NTT.
NTT, and he is in the process of discussions with PLN at the moment.
Struggle with that, yes.
Struggling with PLN.
So this agreement will be nice if I know it's implemented.
Yes, so I think this should go to Pak Ricky regarding PLN.
Yeah, but first of all, I would like to ask Bu Made, is it any specific sectors that contain in this SEPA?
Okay, I believe this is okay. PLN is part of state-owned enterprise.
Right.
We do not have a chapter on as always in our agreement, and also as you know, there are certain what is it called, purpose, right, for PLN to serve the public interest that probably without knowing too detail of Pak Knut problem, but I think just to in short, there is no commitment on SOEs, especially on PLN. But I think this then got to do with investment in general, which is your area, Pak.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's why I asked first of all about this one. Now, when we're talking about the PLN, the project of the electricity, of course, we Yeah, we have to ask about the detailed ones, right? So how's the stage until now? You mentioned about you started in 2018, right? So what is the stage right now? No, because there are a lot of not a lot. There are some stages that you have to prepare from the which area that you were interest, and then also is it already open from like Ambassador mentioned about our new planning for electricity planning for some area that already just announced this last month, if I'm not wrong. So we have to consider of that one, and then how you prepare about the for the study itself, for the location, and then is it already open for the tender or direct order from the PLN, and also a lot of variable, a lot of things that we have to know, and then more specific about this one. Yeah, if you don't mind, please contact me after this, and then we will have some discussion. Of course, we have some teams. No, because I'm really sure that we cannot talk in the detail in this kind of event. No, because yeah. So make it a detail. So we will facilitate you for the detail one. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything?
It's just a general expression that investing in renewable energy is a win-win situation for both countries. You need energy, we need investment.
I see, understand. Yeah, yeah. But as we know, of course, a lot of interest coming from foreign investor, especially in the energy sectors. Yeah, but like Bu Made mentioned about the PLN. PLN is our SOEs, and then they have their planning for the electricity around Indonesia. And of course, we have to consider about that one. Yeah, when you are talking about of course, we need some kind of this kind of electricities for other remote area or outside Java, especially. Yeah, but let's talking about the detail one, and then please once again we will facilitate you if you got a problem with this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Ricky. So we will definitely take advantage of the investment acceleration task force that you have at the Ministry of Investment. We will be in touch with you, and we will discuss with our friends here from the renewable energy sector about the problems that they are facing in Indonesia. Any other questions? Another one from Frederick?
Mother, you mentioned that there is a special unit in Kadin working with different free trade agreements. Is there a specific person to contact, and what sort of assistance can they offer? Can they kind of explain the agreement in layman's terms, because it's 1,000 pages long, right? So if they don't understand it, it's quite difficult.
Thank you, Pak Frederick. Very good question. Yes, actually, this unit, FTA unit, has three purposes. The first one is the contact point for us, the negotiator. Whenever we have enter new negotiation, they give us input. They are the one that organize with the association and private sector at large. That's one. Secondly, when the agreements concluded, the Kadin unit and I and my office and our FTA team are doing socialization. Thirdly, is implementation itself, and this is it is new. They have pilot project at the moment. Australia, Swiss, EFTA. Unfortunately, they chose Swiss to be the pilot, not Norway. Maybe in the future they will. What they do is that it's more to our export. There are a lot of especially like small, medium enterprises. They wanted to export. They wanted to have partner, for example, there. And many of the issue is logistic, for example. And this is where Kadin kicks in. They're trying to be consolidator, for example, like say that we wanted to export our furniture now. to Swiss, for example. I mean, at the moment, shipment is expensive, and they have to collaborate. So they're the one that opened the warehouse, and also helping the exporter how to do that together. So it's more into facilitating the trade with them. This is to start with. So the government is very pleased to have Kadin as a partner to do that. But I believe in the future, they can also expand to other services and facilitation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from our online audience?
Pak Adi, sorry to interrupt. Actually, there is one question directed to me, but
Okay.
privately. So one exporter wanted to get to know a Norwegian market, and this exporter is exporting cocoa pit. I think this is for barbecue, right? Barbecue. I don't know. You know the one from cocoa, from coconut, right? Is there any market there? That's the question. So I would say, if Bapak Dodi, I think Nainggolan here, can I offer them to contact you, Pak Adi? Perhaps you can help facilitating what kind of market. Is there any market in Norway that perhaps this product is accepted? If not, they probably go to other market. You know, I think it's more general questions.
Yes, definitely. Any interested exporters from Indonesia that would like to know more about the Norwegian market can contact us at the embassy. We will do our best to try to answer their queries, and also try to give them a list of businesses in Norway that might be interested in importing their products from Indonesia. So please feel free. Any other questions from the online? No questions? Any questions from the floor? Yes, we have Mr. Jarl from Skate Solar.
Yes, thank you for inviting us to this. First of all, I would like to say that I think the embassy, the Indonesian embassy, is doing a great job in promoting the trade relations, and really impressed with the initiatives that we're taking. I think as the same with Tinpos, we've been working to create investments and business in Indonesia for quite some time. We are investing and we are developing renewable projects. And I think the initiative also with the trade agreement and all of that is very positive in this light. But I also think that, and we've been asking about the new energy law, because I think it's necessary that the framework is improving for those kinds of investments. What we see is that it's a little bit unclear how the framework is working, and it's several levels. When you do investments or when you go into projects, you see there is a provincial type government, you have the central government, and we have the utility company PLN, which is strong in all of this. And I think we are very, very interested in doing investments and doing work in Indonesia. But I think clarifying that framework is quite important for us. So that's not really a question, it's an encouragement for Indonesia, which I hope is taken on board. Thank you.
Well, as far as renewable energy law is concerned, the draft bill has been, almost done. I guess deliberation would be, would take place in our parliaments, and according to the timeline, it will be passed next year. That's the timeline. So if you ask me what is the substance, what are the contents of the draft bill, it is still being, discussed in Jakarta. So it will need, probably quite some time before we know, what is important in it. But we'll be happy to share it with you if we have the draft bill in our hands.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Yes, Fred Canton from Tinfos.
Just to support what Scott is saying, sorry, I lost my voice during the weekend, so it's coming back now. But actually, one question to Uwe earlier in Jakarta when this was discussed, and at that time, also renewable energy or electricity investment was on the high agenda. Currently, this you showed earlier today was oil and gas and fishery. I think the focus should also be on electricity investment, and not only oil and gas and fishery, because it's some time that we do something with climate, and especially in these days, then renewable energy should be a high topic, and to solve exactly what Mr. Tudung was explaining now, the framework of how to invest in energy in Indonesia. We need to show that we are able to do that.
Yes, thank you. I agree. That's why I think the government of Indonesia is still working on this new bill on renewable energy. And as the ambassador mentioned before, that through the electricity supply business plan for the period of 2021 to 2030, a lot of emphasis has been put on renewable energy. So I hope you can also look into this. It's called the RUPTL. It's the electricity business supply plan for the country, and over 51% of new power plants will be renewable energy. And I hope in some way Norwegian companies can take advantage of that and invest in Indonesia for renewable energy projects.
I totally agree, but it's taking too long time. Instead of RUPTL, which we are for 3 of our projects now, it still takes 7 years to develop.
Yes.
And that's the issue, actually.
Yes.
When we want to invest, we want to do kind of this in a shorter time.
Yes.
And actually, the process is
that is a message for Pak Ricky and his task force for the acceleration of investments. So we will definitely be in contact. It's 10:57. So if there are no further questions,
any burning questions?
Any other burning questions? If there's not, we can close this session. Is there any way possible we can take like a group picture on Zoom and do we screenshot? Okay. Okay, so we'll ask the operators here to take a group picture. If everyone could turn on their cameras. Possible? Okay, you can count.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Is it only one screen? Okay.
Yeah, one screen.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Everybody say Sepa. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Before we end, we would like to give a token to to mark the entry into force of Indonesia after state SEPA.
Very nice. Congratulations.
On behalf of the Indonesian Embassy in Oslo, I would like to thank Director General Ribetan, our distinguished panelists, Ibu Made, Pak Ricky, Mr. Christian Norway, and all of you here today for participating in this hybrid business gathering. And we hope to see all of you again in our next event. With this, I would like to close the meeting. For those of you interested in joining the Trade Expo Indonesia, we will have a 15-minute short coffee break first and reconvene in this room where we will present about the Trade Expo Indonesia, and we will guide you through the process of joining and try to connect you with businesses in Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you, Ibu.
Bye.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you.
Nanti kami akan kontak Pak Riki, Pak.
Siap Pak. Anytime Pak. Pak Dubes mohon izin. Live.
Yuk, sampai ketemu.
Izin, Pak Dubes. Sampai ketemu. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Oh wait,
Bye.
I'm also for you.
No way, I'm so happy.
As a speaker, you have to